Okay, this is where the last video left off. I got my chain oil and finished up. Canopy is open. There was about 3 or 4 deer trails intersecting through here. Did my best to keep them open. It looks like a real mess, but there's a lot of ways for deer to get in and out. So this one's done. Up that corridor there where the ranger is and up, I've got a timber plot, pass-through plot, whatever you want to call it. A few different stand setups. Also have a stand right over here. This is the back side of the property. Good access to get back here and cut off some deer. So I'm going to do one more of these on this side of the draw. There's a little drainage there. I'm going to leave this open, but when I get up and over on the north side of that persimmon plot is what I call it. A lot of persimmon trees. I'm going to do another one on the back side of it, downhill side, and that'll be it for this side of the draw. I'll go into detail on some of that other stuff, but this one's done. Moving on. Okay, this is the persimmon plot. That's what I call it. Kill plot, pass-through plot, whatever you want to call it. It's low persimmon trees all around. There's 5 or 6 persimmons there that are fruit bearers. Persimmons back there. Persimmons back in that corner. This little grassy area. I'm gonna actually expand the plot to put that into food. Tripod stand right there. I'll go into more detail about this plot when I'm doing work on it. Back through the timber there, that's the southwest corner of the property. The house is on the northeast, and my neighbor on 2 sides here is big ag. It's quarter, half mile to any cover once you leave my timber on this back corner. Not going to do any cover pockets any farther west than this, because I access along on my neighbor's side of the fence. He allows me to do that, to come in, so I don't particularly want deer bedding along my access, but I still want to utilize as much as I can. So this is what I did here. This is just north of that plot. It's a natural bench, natural perennial bedding spot. There's actually a couple fresh beds right over in there before I started cutting. Man, this is all red oak, and I dropped a lot of timber on the ground here. Several these big red oaks. I left it a little trashy on purpose. The idea is that I can get into that tripod with deer bedded in here, and also that a cruising buck cruising this bench is not going to be able to just physically look up into the plot and see what's up there. He's going to have to circle downwind or actually come into the plot to see what's going on up there. So drops off pretty steep right there, and then down in the creek and back up the other side. is my destination plot. I'm going to do a couple more timber pockets over on that side of the ridge. 1, 2. There's some natural bedding behind the pond. I won't do much there, and then I'll probably do 3, 4, or 5 back to the east. But this is it for would be the south side of the draw. But I really dropped a lot of timber right here. It's going to be interesting to see what comes up. I would imagine more persimmon and probably some more red oak, but as I showed on the other ones, we opened up the canopy. And I'll pick it up on the other side of the draw. This might be of interest to some. This is my habitat rig. Compared to what I used last year, this is like a Cadillac. Got my homemade hinge cut hook there. And I used an old 4-wheeler with a trailer last year to do this stuff, and we sold a rental house, and it was hard to pull the trigger, but probably best money spent since we've had this farm. This little Ranger 500, we bought it brand new, 4-wheel drive. It can just go anywhere. And for someone that's used to having junk equipment, this is really nice. It's March 13th, Saturday, continuing habitat improvements, cover pockets. This is my destination food plot right here. It's little over 2 acres. I'll go into more detail on it. I'm on the other side of the draw, so just 50 yards off my food plot down here in the timber. I'm getting into doe bedding. I did a lot of cutting right in here. This is an area that was already bedding deer, especially during that cold spell we had in February. I mean, there was probably 15 or 20 beds, all down in here. But I think it's worth improving, being right off the food plot like that. I want to hold does in here. So opened up a huge bit of the canopy. Okay, this is an interior food plot. Low, I'm in the bottom. This is the start of my bottom of my draw here. I call this the tower stand plot. Let me get through all this garbage. That is why it's called the tower stand plot. I put this in food. It was just sort of a little grassy opening. I put this in a food plot. I don't hunt it. This is literally on this 40 acres. This is almost smack dab middle of the property. It's probably a quarter, maybe a little less than a quarter acre. Little food here. I just put it in to sort of support, food to support the bedding and cover and help hold deer. It's too risky to hunt without blowing every deer out of here. Now I do have a stand about 70 yards that way that I hunted probably 3 times last fall, and is actually where I killed my buck. But anyway, I just dropped a huge, well, not huge, but it's a pretty big walnut tree right there, and it was all vined over. A lot of a lot of defects and just all kinds of vine, and it was really shading out this food, so I dropped it. There's some hinging and stuff back in there that I did last year. Actually, it was a benefit. Some deer bedded in there, and you could tell it was kind of became a travel area for bucks. So I'm gonna expand on that a little bit, drop a few more of these trees, and then continue on down the draw with a few more pockets of cover. So it's supposed to rain this afternoon and all day tomorrow, so I don't know what I'll get done. I was wanting to finish this stuff this weekend, but if we get all the rain they're talking about, it's not going to happen. Okay, just going to show these last three pockets of cover / bedding. This one is adjacent to the field edge and pretty close to my destination plot up that way. It's doe bedding. Actually found a shed in here before I started cutting. This is the last one I'll do, sort of in this area. Not even 60 yards is the pond there, and then pond dam, and then it's kind of getting onto the other field edge near the house, which is getting into areas that I access stands. So I'm not going to do a lot more open cover pockets along that edge. But I've got one on the far east side of the property that actually is going to incorporate a new stand setup, and then another one down in the bottom. I'll show you those, but this part of the improvements for the upcoming season is done, and it's going to be stand setups, screening, food plots, tree plantings, things like that is what we'll move on to. But canopy here is open. I'll move on to the next one. Okay, this is my creek bottom. Probably 3 or 4 acre of a flat creek bottom. It runs, we're back now again on the east side of the property, and the idea is for a movement of deer that goes from this direction that way towards my destination plot, and picking up a lot of food and cover along the way to hold deer. I did some cutting in here last year also. That's actually probably what, if you can see the mess that's that way. This is an area, and this stuff here is stuff I dropped this year just to open this up down here some more. Big sycamore, a couple of huge hackberries, actually 2 sycamores and 2 big hackberries. This is a part of the farm that's what you would call a sanctuary. I mean, under really no circumstances, unless tracking a deer, would I come in here. Actually, when I'm done here with filming this, probably won't be back in here much. This side of the draw is where I started my cuttings. Up the ridge there is the very back corner, and there was 3 different places along this ridge that I opened up canopy, which will actually help get some sunlight to this bottom. So this is a neat little area down here. I've got one more pretty big bedding cover area that I opened up there. If you keep walking up that ridge, you're gonna eventually run into my house. But I've got a travel corridor along this bench and shelf here. I'm gonna incorporate a new stand up there that I can access just basically right out the back door. So that'll be the next thing I show you. But beyond that walnut tree right there, there's a fence, and then that's my neighbor. So east side of the property. Moving up there, then for the next one, it'll be the last one I show you. Okay, we're getting near the northeast corner of my property. That's my yard and house up there. A little travel corridor along that's my neighbor's fence and that brush. But you come down that little trail and it opens up into this little knoll, I guess what you would call it. These half a dozen walnut trees here, several deer trails going to and from the neighbor. One there. Another one just over here. Actually, the year before we bought this place, we bought it from a friend, and we were here for Thanksgiving dinner. And the kids were out messing around. They found a dead buck that had tried to cross the fence, was coming from the neighbor over to here, and just died right on the fence there. So I've sort of opened that up. Okay, right through here is this was a natural deer trail. Neighbor's fence right there. You can see they cross right there a lot. I mean, it was a well-used trail. I just kind of opened it up, cleaned it up a little bit through here as well, and it connects to a man-made corridor, which of course the deer have learned to start using. But the idea or the plan is to have water hole right here. I'm gonna put a mock scrape vine across the trail here, and I'm not sure exactly yet. I'm either gonna put a stand in that walnut tree or that walnut tree, which will make about a 20-25 yard shot here to this this corridor. I won't go into too much detail about the stand because I'll cover that in another video, but natural bench along here, well used sort of travel area. I think a buck cruising area. So I did some cuttings back here, that I'll show. Okay, this is just down below that bench, below that travel corridor. Dropped quite a bit of timber, some hickory, red oak. Just opened it up. Pretty nice red oak log here. I'm gonna make some boards out of that. And dropped a few hickories. Did some hinging here. Just down the hill is the bottom that I showed. So this is the last bit of heavy chainsaw work that we'll be doing on the farm. So that about does it for the chainsaw work. I think I've done the equivalent of, actually probably more than the equivalent of what the timber harvest would have been. So feel pretty good about it.